Hello and welcome to this Philbert Flies review of Roman Design's Ottawa Airport add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. You join me here on approach to runway 34, and I'm starting with an approach, as I always do, to give you a little look at the surrounding area and the opportunity to gauge the performance of the add-on on my system. You can find my system specs and current graphics settings down below. I'll leave you in peace to watch the rest of the approach and landing now, and I will speak to you again when we're parked up at a gate. From there we'll have a good look around the airport together in different weather and lighting conditions, and I'll finish up by giving you my overall opinion on it. Speak to you shortly.
$500. $400. $300. $200. $100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Welcome to Ottawa. We're parked up on stand 13 and we're going to start by having a look at the jetway connecting to the aircraft. These do appear to be default Asobo jetways. They are not, as far as I can tell, custom modelled. They certainly don't look exactly like the ones at the real airport, but they are close enough, and they've got some rather nice signage plonked on them. The numbers are accurate to the real airport, as are these Ottawa signs on the side, and the quality of the texturing on these is pretty good. It's a little bit disappointing to see these little gaps here and there, but it's not the end of the world. Let's move on to having a look at the terminal building and the upper parts of the jetways. So no transparent glass here, but some very nice texture work, nice and high resolution, no blurriness even when you get up super close, and they look very good. The terminal itself does feature transparent glass, but before we move inside and have a look at that interior, let's see what the textures are like on the outside. So once again, I'm very impressed by these. Nice and sharp, no blurriness even when you get close, and some really nice weathering on these blocks down here, without any obvious repetition. The roofs have been done very nicely as well, nicely reflective, and again, no sign of any blurriness, which is quite unusual for airport roofs. Right, it's interior time, and as you can see, the tint on the glass looks very realistic, and the glass itself is reflective. And how's this for an interior? Pretty impressive, I feel. Absolutely fantastic to see some people around and about the place, as well as the usual details that we've come to expect from very high quality airport add-ons. Excellent quality modelling of the seats, some really nice details around the gate areas, including departure screens, desks, etc. And the ground textures and the ceiling textures are really sharp as well. The only slight disappointment here is that the windows lose their tint from the inside, so in fact it does look like there's no glass in them whatsoever. A really impressive amount of detail has been included at ground level. These electricity boxes, these bollards, these shutters and the signage on the outside of the terminal building all looks very nice indeed. The interior detail carries on all the way along the terminal building and is particularly impressive here, as is this Ottawa sign on the glass. Now interestingly, these windows do retain their tint from the inside and look very nice as a result, so it's not entirely clear to me why that wasn't possible in the part of the terminal we looked at earlier. The maintenance area to the east of the airport is fantastically detailed. We've got animated vehicles. This Shell tanker is reversing and you can hear its reversing horn. We've got some excellent hangars which have been very nicely modelled and very nicely textured. And the hangar doors open and close on a schedule. So they will open, stay open for 3 minutes and then close and stay closed for a minute. And if I've timed this shot right, they should be just about to open. And obviously I hadn't timed it quite as well as I thought I had, but we're back and here you are. You can see them sliding open and we can go inside and have a look around. Now this interior is absolutely fantastic. The ground looks fantastic, the ceiling looks great, and we've got a good amount of clutter around the edges of the hangar. You'll also notice that parallax has been used to create the impression of an interior here, and the developer's done a really good job of this. Sometimes it can look a bit odd and the interior sort of moves along with you, but this looks very convincing indeed. This Shell Aero Centre building looks really very good indeed. We've got great quality modelling, very sharp textures. We even have a person standing outside the door here, although unfortunately he does draw your attention to these windows, and the parallax effect in use as windows go around the corner doesn't look quite as good. It looks a bit odd as you're panning past in the drone, but you know, this isn't something you're going to notice as you taxi around the airport, and it doesn't particularly bother me. At the other end of the passenger terminal, to the northwest, we have another hangar of a very different style, but once again it has animated hangar doors. They are closed at the moment, but I guarantee you if we waited long enough they would open. Once again, the quality of the modelling and the texturing is superb. Really nice crisp brickwork here, and as we move inside you'll see that again we have really good interior detailing, including 2 static aircraft. Now these do bob up and down a little bit. They were not doing it at the moment, but take my word for it, there it goes. They did it earlier. I don't know why this happens with certain static models. It's a bit of a shame, but again, a minor point in the grand scheme of things. Continuing northwest, we have the de-icing pad, and my favourite feature of this has to be the dot matrix screens. These have been really nicely implemented, and as we get closer you'll see that you can make out every individual pixel. The buildings adjacent to it look really good as well. Once again, fantastic use of parallax effect with these windows, and we have a modelled control tower which has an interior as well. And you can actually see the layout of the airport on the computer screens here. This is the General Aviation Apron, home to the Ottawa Flying Club, as you can see. Once again, I'm really impressed with the level of detail up here, not least the fluttering Canadian flag. We've got more excellent use of parallax effect in these windows down here, and another hangar with 2 little Cessnas inside it. The control tower complex looks very nice, as does the control tower itself, which has been beautifully modelled, again with some really nice crisp weathered textures. And most excitingly, it has transparent glass and a fully modelled interior with people in it. Very impressive. A really good amount of ground clutter has been included around the gate areas of this scenery, which brings a lot of life to the airport. There are no static aircraft out and about, just the ones that we've had a look at inside the hangars. The ground textures at Ottawa look really pretty nice. I'm particularly impressed by the amount of dirt around the aircraft stands. There are also rubber markings around the taxiway centre lines and in other places where you would expect to find them. There is one slight oddity around this apron, and that is the fact that there seem to be two sort of conflicting patterns here. So you'll notice that we have these square concrete slabs, which is true to life, but then underneath them we seem to have lines from a conflicting pattern of concrete slabs. Now, I'm loath to even mention this because I just didn't notice it when I was taxiing around, and it's only now I'm looking closely with the drone camera that I've spotted it. But I've seen it, so I have to say something, I'm afraid. Aside from that, there's a lot to like. Now, they have matched the colours and materials used very closely with the real airport, according to the Google satellite imagery, even down to little details like this colour change here. The runways look absolutely fantastic. They are very close to their real-life counterparts, and the texture work is fantastic. The markings are accurate. We've got a good amount of dirt around the centre line, a good amount of rubber marking. Really nothing to complain about here at all. The grassy areas look quite nice. Because there isn't much grass growing here, you do get a bit of blurry satellite imagery showing through, but there's not a lot that can be done about that, I don't think. The 3D taxiway signs look good, and I'm particularly impressed by these very realistic wigwags. The landside entrance to the terminal looks absolutely fantastic. A good amount of detail has been included, from people to baggage trolleys to signage. And once again we have transparent glass and some interior modelling. Even the car park opposite the terminal building has been very nicely modelled. I really like these flags, they look very pretty. And even over here we have some transparent glass. So a huge amount of landside detail. Here's Ottawa by night, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. These floodlights are doing a very good job of lighting up the apron, and they look very realistic. And I really like the way the terminal building looks as well. It's not the brightest. I imagine that in reality there would be a bit more light bleeding through these windows, perhaps, but it's certainly very atmospheric. And as you move inside, you'll see that the lighting in here looks very realistic as well. The landside areas are nicely lit, and the taxiway and runway lighting looks good as well. Here's Ottawa in the rain, and the ground textures look really nice when they're wet, reflecting the aircraft and everything else very nicely indeed. Because we have transparent glass in use, there is a little bit of popping. The windows aren't shrouded in mist as they should be, which is something that Asobo need to work on, and there's nothing that developers can do about it as far as I'm aware. And here's Ottawa in the snow. As you can see, the apron has a thick covering of snow, but there are some patches where you can see the ground through it, which I quite like. That certainly looks more realistic than totally uniform coverage. It's unfortunate that the ground markings are not covered in snow at all. They stick out and look kind of odd, although, you know, there is the odd little blip here and there where the textures are lighter. What I don't like is the fact that the runways and taxiways are completely blanketed in snow. I would have expected them to be cleared, and I don't think it's very realistic approaching a runway where you can't even see the centre line. But there we are. Snow's difficult to work with in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's kind of just one of those things, but I have seen better implementations than this. So what do I think of Roman Design's Ottawa? Well, I'm very impressed. It's a beautiful rendition of the airport with fantastic modelling and texturing throughout. The night lighting's great, the amount of detail included is incredible, and it's got a very believable atmosphere as a result. There have been a few very minor niggles I've spotted over the course of this review, but nothing really that I think is worth reiterating now, except perhaps the default jetways. The more I look at them, the more I think it would make a huge difference to this airport if they were replaced with custom models. But overall, a really great airport that I certainly recommend you add to your collection if you like flying in this part of the world. So there you have it. I hope you found this useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon here on Philbert Flies. Bye bye.